What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you guys today, we are now at exactly 3 weeks out from the 2025 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. I want to talk a little bit first about some of the classic physique guys. In particular, some of the ones that we haven't talked much about, starting with Logan Franklin. I was looking at Logan Franklin's story updates. He's been posting his physique updates for the Arnold mostly on his stories. And Logan is a guy that hasn't really been talked about as much as some of the other big names going into this Arnold. It's kind of crazy to think about that it was already 4 years ago. 2021 was the year that Logan last did the Arnold, the year that he was top 3. He got the Best Poser Award at the Arnold that year. A lot of people were then talking about him going into the Olympia that year, which he ended up not doing, the 2021 Mr. Olympia. But it's crazy to think that it's already been that long, 4 years, since Logan last did the Arnold. And this year, or at this past year's Olympia, 2024, he was 13th at the Olympia, so he was a bit outside of that conversation with the top guys, some of the guys that we're talking about here at the Arnold. But again, I think it's worth pointing out that the Arnold landscape this year is different. Even though you've got a top 2 guy, Mike Sommerfeld, from the Olympia, and you've got last year's champion, Wesley Vissers, the guys that we're so used to seeing at the Arnold are not going to be there. Breon, Ramon. You could even lump Terrence in that conversation, Terrence Ruffin. But even just talking about Breon, Ramon, that's usually 3 spots out of the top 5 placers at the Arnold. That's usually half the first call out there. So even though most of the conversation this year has been specifically about Wesley versus Mike, those top 5 spots are a little bit more up for grabs than they typically are. And I kind of wonder if there's a chance that we could see Logan Franklin return to a top 3 position at the Arnold. I'm kind of thinking, right now, obviously, Mike and Wesley have been the big topic, but I'm kind of thinking Michael Daboul will be in that top 5. I think Logan is looking really good, even though we haven't seen as many updates from him as some of these other guys. I mean, the last update that we got from his coach, and that was really one of the first real updates that we got from his coach of Logan, from Patrick Torr, that was already a week ago, so this was at 4 weeks out, this update here. But another guy that I think could really be in that mix that we haven't talked about is Matt Greggo. This guy, I was looking at this update that he posted today, his transformation update, just 2 years' time, and it has been pretty noticeable the amount of size that Matt Greggo has put on. The transformation that he's had here recently has been pretty impressive. And his most recent Olympia placing, 2024, he was top 10, so he was 3 placings ahead of Logan. And also, to be fair, only 2 placings behind Wesley. So when you're talking about the guys that are doing classic at this year's Arnold, and you're looking at Olympia placings, when you're talking about like the top 10, you really only have Mike, who was runner-up. You have Michael Daboul, who was 7th. You have Matt Greggo, who was top 10, and of course, your returning defending Arnold champion, Wesley Vissers, who was 8th. But you really only have 4 guys out of that top 10 doing the Arnold. And like I said, that doesn't include the usual guys that we see. Obviously, that doesn't include Chris Bumstead. So there's like 5 of the guys that are out right out of the gate that are not even doing the show. But yeah, Matt Greggo, I've been looking at his updates. I saw this transformation post today, and I thought it was wildly impressive just how much his physique has changed in 2 years' time. But I think Matt has a great physique. He's a little bit of a taller guy, so that's why he looks bigger. I believe he's right at 6 foot, so he's got a pretty good weight cap on him. But I think also, to be fair, we should take a look at Michael Daboul's latest update because, like I said, looking at Olympia placings, only Mike Sommerfeld and Michael Daboul, they're the only 2 guys from the Olympia this past year that placed ahead of Wesley. So Michael actually was ahead of him at the Olympia as well. Michael was 7th and Wesley was 8th. And sure enough, Michael just posted a physique update today on his Instagram story, just minutes ago actually, at 3 weeks out, looking really impressive. He's kind of a guy that's known for conditioning. But yeah, I think it's totally fair to lump him into this conversation. And it may even be unfair to not be considering him as a possible winner. Maybe some of you guys are considering him as a possible winner, but if we're considering Mike to be the favorite based off his Olympia placing, because he placed ahead of Wesley at the Olympia, significantly ahead, he's run up to Chris Bumstead, you kind of also have to have that same conversation about Michael Daboul, who also beat Wesley at the Olympia. But, I mean, Wesley is the returning, defending Arnold champion, so that's probably why his name is still in the mix. But maybe it is a little bit unfair to Michael Daboul that so much of this conversation has been just Wesley and Mike, when Michael Daboul also beat Wesley. So I think in this Arnold lineup, there's real opportunity in that top three, in the sense that, like I said, the typical guys are not there. So that top three, that third place spot in particular, is a little bit more open than it typically is. And so you've got a chance here to be one of these guys that was maybe on the back end of the Olympia top 10. And if you're standing in that top three being compared with these guys, you're most likely going to be standing with an Arnold Classic champion, Wesley Vissers, and or a top 2 Olympian, Mike Sommerfeld. So to get that third place spot and to get that comparison and to get that look, I think is huge for a lot of these guys that are up and coming, like I said, maybe more on the back end of that top 10. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the Classic Physique Arnold Classic. What are your predictions? So before we get back into more Arnold update stories at 3 weeks out, I wanted to talk about a couple other things first. So the first thing I want to talk about was they just announced the new dates, location, and venue for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. So it looks like it's essentially going to be almost exactly the same as what we saw in 2024. As far as the dates, it's going to be October 9th through the 12th, 2025. It's going to be at the same hotel, the same venue, the Resorts World, and it's also going to be the same convention center, Las Vegas Convention Center. So same location. It's also in Vegas. So I hope that this means there's going to be a little bit more consistency as far as when we can expect to see the Olympia. And obviously, COVID kind of messed things up. We were pretty used to seeing the Olympia in September every single year for a really long time. And it's really stayed in Vegas for a long time. And obviously they moved back and forth to Florida, Vegas because of COVID. But like 2 years ago, it was in December. Last year, not last year, but 2023 was November. Then they moved it to October in 2024. That's just one big thing I would like to see the Olympia get back to, is being that same month, that same general time every year, and not bouncing around. Because that's one of the things that I like about the Arnold so much, is every year I look forward to that first weekend of March, because every year that's the Arnold no matter what, except for 1 year during COVID. Same place, same time, etc. And I know a lot of people would like to see, and maybe that's a good discussion to have in the comments, a lot of people would like to see the Olympia start becoming international again. And I think specifically for two reasons: to give more international athletes a better opportunity to compete, and obviously the other reason being international fans more opportunity to see the show. And to be honest, while I think that's a nice idea, I don't really know how realistic of an idea that actually is, or what the chances are of that actually happening. I kind of like the idea of just keeping the Olympia same place, same time, same location every year like clockwork. It's probably easier for everybody that way, logistically. Fans, athletes, spectators, whatever, can all just adjust their schedules accordingly, knowing the Olympia's the same time every year. But anyway, those are the Olympia dates, time, location. And the crazy thing about that is we're already only 8 months away from the Olympia. It goes by so quick. But next up in the news, I saw this, and I thought this was really cool. So in an interview with Sid from RX Muscle, Ronnie Coleman gave probably the best endorsement you could really ask for if you're a pro bodybuilder right now. And he was asked about Keone going to Open, and Ronnie said 100% Keone will win the Open Olympia when he switches over.
How far do you think he can go in the Open class once he grows into that frame of his?
Oh, he'll win it. He'll win it for sure. He will win it for sure. That's how confident I am in him, and I'm quite sure he's confident in himself too.
I got to ask you.
Now, obviously, this is a huge endorsement for a number of reasons. I think the primary one being Ronnie Coleman is arguably the greatest bodybuilder of all time. To say that Keone is undoubtedly going to win the Open Olympia is pretty huge coming from him. But I really think this conversation about Keone going to Open has been becoming a lot more real lately, now that he's really solidified himself as the 212 champ, winning back-to-back now. I feel like after the Olympia, the conversation has changed a bit about Keone, and people are starting to take him a little bit more seriously as a, what if this guy actually does go to Open? He would be a real threat now that he's really defended his title. He won his first title. He's a two-time champ. Probably will stay in 212 this year and go for the three-peat. But I've seen a lot more talk about him going to Open. I just saw him talking about going to Open like a week ago on his Instagram story, talking about how he could visualize himself holding up that Sandow one day. And I saw him talking about Open a few months ago, saying he wants to go head-to-head while Samson is still on top with Samson. And I think that when it comes to 212 crossovers, it's a little bit more of an interesting conversation because 212 to Open bodybuilding is a pretty one-to-one exchange rate. Literally, the only difference is the weight cap. So like with Classic Physique, for example, you've got different poses, you've got different judging criteria. But 212 and Open bodybuilding are both just bodybuilding. One just has a weight cap. Same poses, same judging criteria, all that stuff. It's just with a weight cap. So that's why you see these 212 guys become so successful in Open. Like Derek and Hottie, for example, coming from 212 and both winning the Open Olympia. Bonac also came from 212, by the way, and he was very successful in Open. And I think it really just makes total sense, and I don't know how anybody could look at Keone's physique now and some of the updates that he's posted, like the fuller version of him, how they couldn't visualize a physique like that winning the Open Olympia. Because I think even in some cases you could make the argument that 212 is just slightly harder than Open bodybuilding for some guys. Because like I said, it's the same thing, same criteria, but that weight cap is a problem for some people. It makes it more difficult. So if you're the best bodybuilder in the world in 212, and it's the same criteria as Open, when that weight restriction is lifted, sometimes you get even better. And I think that's what we saw with Derek, for example. And maybe that could also be the case with a guy like Keone. But certainly I think an interesting conversation for you guys to have in the comments is, do you think there's a chance that Keone could win the Open Olympia? I think at this point, without a doubt, Keone has made it clear he will eventually go to Open. I don't think that is up for debate anymore. He is going to do it. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of when, not if. But when he does do it, and I think maybe even this is another important piece of this, should he have to qualify to do the Open Olympia, or should he get a special invitation? I think they should just kind of uphold the same standard that they've had. They offered one to Flex Lewis. He was a 212 champ. They gave one to Derek Lunsford, an invitation to compete, that is. They weren't going to have to qualify, didn't have to qualify. I think they should just keep that same standard when Keone switches over. So, I mean, Derek's first Open show ever was the Open Olympia, and he was top 2. So he proved he was deserving of that special invite. I think Keone could have a similar result. Now, next up in the news, we got 2 recent physique updates from Nick Walker, a side chest and a back lat spread, as we are now 1 week closer to the Pittsburgh Pro in May, where he's going to have to face Martin Fitzwater, Good Vito, Nathan Diasha, and I'm sure many more. And it certainly seems like Nick is becoming very confident right now about how he's going to look in Pittsburgh. We're really starting to see a lot more physique updates from him, but more frequently, I guess. And we're seeing him say publicly, like repeatedly, that he is going to win the Pittsburgh Pro. He's like speaking it into existence. He seems very confident with his look. Probably a good sign if you're a Nick Walker fan. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about Nick Walker's chances of winning the Pittsburgh Pro. Now let's get into some 3-week out Arnold Classic updates. We just got a brief glimpse today of Brandon Curry's back. And I like that we're starting to see more of Brandon Curry from this prep. Because initially we didn't really see or hear much from him, especially after the Olympia. But we just got that side chest from him the other day. We just got this update of his back. He posted that full posing video a couple weeks ago where you could see his entire physique. And I've always thought that Brandon had a really polished back. I always liked the way his back looked. It always just looked so polished and bubbly to me. But does Brandon have a chance at adding another Arnold Classic title to his legacy? And at 42 years old, is there also a chance that this could be the last Arnold Classic we see him do? And one of Brandon Curry's longtime Arnold Classic rivals, William Bonac, the same age as Brandon, just posted a physique update showing off his wheels. William Bonac, also a former Arnold Classic champion, looking to add another Arnold title to his resume. Will Bonac be able to secure one more title before he's done competing? And here's a guy that's gone head-to-head with Bonac a few times that I don't think I've talked about at all in this Arnold Classic build-up. Justin Luis Rodriguez. This is the latest physique update from him. This was a few days ago, but he hasn't posted as frequently or as much as some of these other guys. But Justin, I believe it was the Boston Pro a couple years ago, 2022, where Bonac won and Justin was second, and a lot of people were making the argument that Justin could have won that show. That was a really, really good, really well-conditioned look for Justin. 2022 was a pretty good year for him. He looked pretty good at the Arnold that year too. And I think that was also the same year at the Arnold that he was, I believe at prejudging, he was like in third place or something crazy like that, and he dropped a lot of placings at the night show, but he was like up there at prejudging because he looked so crazy. And something just happened between prejudging and the night show. But does Justin have a shot at securing a top 5 placing at this year's Arnold Classic? Another guy that we haven't talked as much about, Patrick Moore, just posted a new physique update showing off his back, which I think is one of the body parts that people have criticized about Patrick, back and his legs. I thought this back double actually looked pretty damn good for Patrick. I think his back certainly looks improved here. And I hope he's able to improve on his last Arnold Classic placing as well. Jon De La Rosa, another guy that maybe we haven't talked about almost at all during this Arnold Classic build-up, and that could be because he hasn't posted almost any physique updates at all during this prep. We really haven't seen much of Jon really at all. And honestly, Jon had a pretty good 2024. I mean, he was outside of the top 10 at the Olympia, but he was 12th. It wasn't horrible. He had a decent look there. He had a pretty good look when he qualified for the Olympia in 2024. Now, this video of him posted a day ago of him doing curls is the only really recent physique update I could find of him at all. But he could certainly be a factor in this lineup. And then, of course, Akim Williams. We haven't talked as much about him. This was an update that he posted, I think it was about a week ago now. And again, kind of another guy that doesn't post as much as these other guys. He's not a very frequent poster when it comes to physique updates. But I've said this before, and I'll stand by it still. One of my favorite front double biceps in the IFBB right now. This guy's bicep peaks are some of the gnarliest in the whole league. Just like those splits in those fibers that are running straight down the middle of the bicep peak. And then just the sheer size of his arms, obviously. I think Akim looks the closest to the NPC logo, the biceps on that NPC logo, out of any other bodybuilder in the league right now. He's got a crazy front double. And Akim did manage to secure a top 10 Olympia placing at this past year's Olympia in 2024. So he certainly is a guy that could be in the conversation. So for this video, I just kind of wanted to cover more of some of the less talked about guys in both classic physique and open bodybuilding, because there's so many guys, we just don't get to them all. But and some of them just flat out don't post updates, and that's another part of it. But I wanted to make sure, now that we're at the exact 3-week out mark, I wanted to cover the more broad scope of both the classic physique and men's open lineups, even guys that maybe don't have as good of a chance, or maybe we haven't talked about, or maybe haven't posted updates. I just wanted to kind of cover everybody. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What are your Arnold Classic predictions for 2025 in both classic physique and men's open bodybuilding? Shockingly, thank you guys for bearing with me, by the way, in this video. Shockingly, I'm still not better. My voice is still kind of gone. My throat still kind of hurts. I'm still kind of sick. And I'm sure even in this video, you can still probably hear it. So it's been a sucky 2 weeks for me. And now I'm hearing we're possibly going to get another snowstorm here in just a couple days. So we've got that to look forward to as well. But thank you guys for bearing with me. That's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.